Have you checked the children? You're a little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Long days and pleasant nights, fellow travelers along the path of the beam. I am known on this level of the tower as Jaime and Fuego, and if it please you, join me here for a bit of palaver on Hail to Stephen King, Blow Out Your Eardrum. Sorry everybody, if you've been watching this show for the nearly 250 episodes it's been going down for, you know that that's kind of the drill. But obviously, bienvenidos and welcome to the horror show. So glad to have you here for my weekly worship every Saturday that we do here. And so this was kind of a emergency sort of refilming bit, because this past week we got the first full trailer, like nearly 3 minutes, for the CBS All Access series, The Stand, premiering December 17th. It's going to be a weekly show from what I understand, and so that's, I mean, kind of disappointing, but I have seen a lot more streaming services shifting over to this model compared to the Netflix binge sort of approach, and I mean, it worked well for The Boys, for their second season, and yet, I don't know, Hulu used to be weekly, and now, like, Hellstrom just is about to drop, and from what I understand, it's going to be just all available at the same time, so I don't know. It seems like everybody is kind of tinkering with their model, but to get specific, though, the thing that is such a bummer, and there was going to be a different video this week for Before the Play, which is about the Shining prequel, but that's going to get shelved for a later date, and you guys can check that out at some point in the near future, but despite abiding by fair trade, we had our video taken down in all regions, and I think it made maybe like 30 or 40 minutes before Viacom, which owns CBS All Access, took it down. And as Cecil and myself, who did the reaction, investigated, yeah, apparently happened to everybody. There are no trailer reactions to this new, just longer form trailer for the series, and that's kind of a bummer, because I thought that that was some really cool discussion. Cecil is excited about it, as am I. So in comparison, just so we hopefully get some of that traffic from, you know, this past week and just all of the intrigue that it brought about, because there were those little, like, what, 20, 30 second teasers, and Cecil and I were like, nope, we're going to wait for a first full trailer, examine that, review it, react, and, you know, kind of take it from there. So it was a real bummer that despite abiding by the fair use and everything, I mean, we did everything as, you know, just entertainment correspondents, film and TV journalists, whatever, and they still, we're not holding our breath that it's going to be available, unfortunately. But, so instead what I wanted to do was basically go through a bit of the casting and a bit of my understanding and just my thoughts on this going forward. So, I'm definitely cautiously optimistic about this, and the reason there's that, you know, just preliminary term of the cautious aspect is because of the fact that I really hold the Mick Garris version in high regard from 1994. There's a lot of characters from that adaptation that I struggle to just even think of somebody else being Stu Redman, you know, compared to Gary Sinise. You know, I do not recall the name of the actor, but dude, he played Larry Underwood, fantastic. Larry Underwood is my favorite Stephen King character. Molly Ringwald as Franny was great. I mean, that whole cast, I mean, Glenn Bateman, the judge, everybody, I thought it was really awesome. And, you know, rest peacefully, Miguel Ferreira as Lloyd, another name that eludes me, the dude who played Randall Flagg. Now, granted, they're the older Skarsgard brother, and I guess there's a bunch of Skarsgards from what I was investigating, but yeah, I'm very excited after the trailer about what they're going to do with this new incarnation of Flagg. The production values look great. I'm stoked about, you know, Whoopi playing Mother Abigail. I think that's solid casting. She originally wanted to do it back in 1994, but there's also stuff like we didn't see as much of the humorous aspect to the Flagg, at least in this portrayal. This was less of a story trailer. You know, a lot of people basically lamented the fact, and quite gripingly, if I'm going to be fair about it, that it didn't really emphasize the nature of this horrible plague, the Captain Trips, that kills everybody. But I definitely think that was by choice. That was a very deliberate decision, And that's because we're in the midst of one right now. Nothing as horrendously horrible as what we experienced in the classic King novel, but nonetheless, I would imagine there's a lot of sensitivity about this source material, which they were making long before the world just went nuts this past year. And so yeah, I mean, it's the idea has been floated from certain people, myself included, to Cecil during that trailer reaction, is it in bad taste for this to come out when things haven't slowed down? Things are still, I mean, we're seeing those second waves in various areas of the world. And so is it, I mean, is this the right time? Should they have delayed it further, just like so many other properties have been delayed? But that was more so because theaters are totally effed right now. And so, I mean, streaming, television, all of that other stuff, I'd say it's definitely a different beast, because that's the bread and butter of the entertainment industry right now. That's how they're probably staying afloat and surviving, especially as companies like Disney, various others are either dumping their films directly onto their respective affiliate streaming services or whatever it may be, or just, pushing ahead, as we said, like Dune delayed an entire year. That was my favorite, my most anticipated film of the year, and then, a year later, same with Spielberg's West Side Story. I mean, there's a lot that's changing. The home streaming game, though, is what a lot of people are predicting the future of the industry, because, I mean, both, the cinema experience and also concerts have been so screwed by this past year, and it's really, really sad. It breaks my heart as somebody who plays in a band myself and can't play out, just trying to figure out, what the next step is. But nonetheless, no, I don't think it's really in bad taste to put this out. I think in some ways it maybe gives a little perspective about the fact that, well, life kind of sucks for a lot of people right now. Lives have been lost, and holy hell is it horrible. But maybe glass half full it? Like, it could be a whole lot worse. I mean, 99% of the world's population dies in the stand, and it's only those with immunities. It's not older people or pre-existing conditions or whatever, and then everybody else seems to be, forging forward and recovering, albeit with a lot of them, I was just reading about Maynard from Tool and A Perfect Circle and Pussifer having caught it and saying his voice isn't quite the same. Like, there's definitely lingering effects that for a lot of people don't go away, and it's mutated in various regions and all this other stuff. So that's not, but I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to just give thoughts about, first and foremost, the trailer, as I said, and the fact that I thought it did look pretty damn good. I'm warming up to some of these new castings, but yet there's others that I'm a little apprehensive about, and we'll see. I like the fact that on CBS All Access they are proclaiming that is going to be the full-on sort of R-rated approach, which we didn't really have in that ABC miniseries from '94, but that one just, I mean, I still think it's fantastic, man. M-O-O-N, that spells fantastic, and the cast was great. It was one of the biggest just budgeted things for television of all time, and yet, while you could tell that the tone was kind of, like, they took some steps back. I mean, the kid, obviously they're not going to have something like that in there with Trash Can Man, but nonetheless, as much as I love that miniseries, I still think the Marvel Comics adaptation, going for the full R rating, showing more of, like, Dana's backstory and the stuff with the kid that I just mentioned in Trash Can, and so many other things, like, it did go for it, and I appreciated that. For me, as much as I love the ABC version, Marvel's is the quintessential adaptation for me at this particular point, and we are planning on giving it a proper review before this new version comes out. But yeah, CBS All Access giving more of that free range, more power to them. I'm all for it. Also, the fact that Josh Boone has been a longtime constant reader. He was like a pen pal with Stephen King back in the day when he was a teenager. I haven't seen The Fault in Our Stars, and I know that's kind of a YA thing, but it was very heavily praised. But I did really like The New Mutants, and I felt like even though, like, the script didn't do it for me quite as much as I wanted, the character development was interesting, and I was actually very happy with that movie. I quite enjoyed it, like, but really good on the bordering of saying great, or I loved it, especially the third act and everything, all the performances, the casting was great and stuff like that. So I'm excited about Josh Boone tackling this, I know he tried to do Revival for a while, and that's obviously not happening. If, you know, Cy Flanagan, you know, Heil word slinger Cy Flanagan is doing Revival. That's a sort of different situation, obviously. But Owen, King's youngest son, Owen King, is working on, well, basically developed this along with Josh. And then King also writing the 9th and final episode, which is a new coda that, at least from what I understand, is not going to be like, you know, the whole circle thing with, you know, a certain somebody showing back up on this, like, deserted island of Aborigines or whatever. So, but it's going to focus more so on some of our surviving characters from the book and the miniseries without getting into some spoilerific territory. But a structuring issue that I have heard that I do have some issues with is they are going to be relying heavily on flashbacks. You see in the trailer that we're definitely getting our dream sequences and stuff, which is cool. I mean, they're so just imperative and crucial to the narrative, but it's been published in a lot of articles, so just to forewarn you, spoiler, I guess, but is it really that much of a spoiler when it's been in so many different, you know, things that have been published in anticipation of this? They're going to start in the middle of the story with, like, boulder body cleanup, and then they're going to jump backwards, and we're going to get that sort of acquainted with our characters sort of thing. I don't personally like that, but once again, as I contend on this channel constantly and on this program specifically, art is subjective and it is a different turn of the wheel, so I don't know, man. If I see it and I'm impressed, totally forgiving, and you know, I'm just trying that cautious optimism, the power of positivity, but yet trying to temper my expectations and not allow them to get too crazy high, because that's when all too often you get that disappointment factor. So that sort of narrative structuring I'm a little skeptical about, but I'm trying to remain open-minded, and we shall see, obviously. But this is something that I didn't really touch upon as much in the trailer reaction that we're hoping. Maybe it can pop back up on the channel, but we did appeal to YouTube. They didn't give us a copyright strike, thankfully, but they did ban it in all regions, so we'll see if it pops back up. But just in case that video does not see the light of day, once again, for all of you to give your thoughts on it, and really at this particular point it wouldn't trend anywhere near as well anyway, but nonetheless, some character casting changing is the one thing that I'm kind of scratching my head about, but I do understand that it's 2020. Women and minorities have obviously been drastically underrepresented, and for that reason, I understand some of the alterations that have been made. And I mean, who can, like, can a white dude in 2020, and, you know, a gringo like myself, despite my, you know, just admiration to, I mean, my moniker is Jaime and Fuego, for God's sake, guys. You know, I worked in, you know, kitchens and living in the Southwest here in the deadly desert of Phoenix, Arizona. I gained an affinity for Hispanic culture. A lot of my best friends, whether it's the music, the culinary approach, whatever it is, hence, you know, especially being in the fiery, you know, desert of Arizona. But despite that fact, it's a little bit different when I feel like you alter stuff. I guess Underwood might be the most controversial thing for me to say, and that's because of the fact that, you know, Larry's a very flawed character. He's the one that I identify with the most, and it's not so. It has nothing to do with his skin color. It's the fact that he means well. He tries to do the right thing, and he fails, like, time in and time out, despite the best of intentions, you know, the road to hell, you know, as the old saying goes and stuff like that. And yeah, a white guy playing the brown sound going around town, as King called it. And yeah, I remember on the Chappelle Show where Mooney was being critical of some King stuff. And there is also, as if you watch the New York Comic-Con panel, you know, that they did. It's only like 20-something minutes, but Whoopi Goldberg did talk about the fact that Mother Abigail has I'm just being very cautious with this term, the magic Negro. And it's a trope that a lot of white writers have used. And so I mean, a lot of this makes sense, and I'm not going to be critical of that. I'm just wondering how different of a take we're going to get on Larry in this occasion. But that casting change, it's Jovan Adepo, and he was from Watchmen and a few other things. I've seen tons of friends of mine of every sort of race, gender, persuasion, whatever. They've been like, dude, you need to watch HBO's Watchmen. It's badass. It's so much more just painfully poignant in the 2020 that we have experienced. So once again, whereas it felt like something imperative as far as, this gringo, this white dude trying to imitate, a sound that was pioneered by a lot of people that, had to look nothing like him and had a lot of different talents. I'm not tripping about that, really. And yet, hey, different turn of the wheel, obviously, like I said. Hey, Idris Elba was fantastic as Roland, despite the fact that I didn't like the script. His performance was spot the ferg on, man. So, I don't know, I didn't like McConaughey in that movie, though, but that's not what we're here to talk about. Let's go through a little bit more casting. James Marsden as Stu Redman. I've liked Marsden since, I believe Disturbing Behavior was, one of the ones that I remember him probably most notably from. I know he was really funny in Enchanted, and he was obviously Scott Summers in X-Men. And so, yeah, he's been around for a while, but he's definitely not like an A-lister. And for me, he's not like a Gary Sinise. So, but I'm open-minded enough. One thing that they are definitely doing with the casting here that I feel like, and maybe it's just because I'm older and these people look younger to me, but I feel like especially with the casting of Lloyd and Franny that we'll get to here in a moment, they're very deliberately going younger, and I don't want to say that it's like it's kind of the same thoughts that I had about Efron being in Firestarter. Yeah, he is 32, but he just looks so much younger to me, and being the child star and stuff like that. Marsden being older, that's fine, coolio, whatever. Odessa Young, I believe, is the actor who's playing Franny. She was in, what was the something Nation, Assassination Nation, I think was the one that I saw her in. And she was good, she showed some gravitas, but just feels so much younger, I guess more college age than Molly Ringwald probably was. So, I'm open to the idea, but that was obviously kind of a weird thing in the adaptations of the, the alterations of the source material, because remember, King moved it up, a number of years for both the paperback and then for the uncut version that added back everything and had those great burning rights and illustrations. So, Odessa, sure, I thought she was solid enough in Assassination Nation, but once again, the deliberately going younger. Amber Heard, though, as Nadine Cross, the fact that Amber Heard has kind of shown herself but behind the scenes, and whatever side you stand on between this war she is currently having with her former husband, Johnny Depp, I kind of think she's a little beach face, and for that reason, playing a character like Nadine, especially with what ends up kind of transpiring with her. Now, who knows? They could do some significant alterations. I thought the girl from Just Shoot Me was great as Nadine. But Amber Heard, with some of those behind-the-scenes stigmas that she has, I'm like, oh man, what ends up happening with Nadine and Harold and everything, I totally see it. As I also said, Whoopi, I'm very excited to see her finally get to play this role. Tom Cullen is the one that I'm not familiar with, this Brad William Thankee guy. I'm trying to see some of the other stuff that he's done. I know he was in Arkansas, which was a film with the other Hemsworth that I saw earlier this year, but he's one that I'm not really that familiarized with. And the fact that dude from Coach as Tom was just so perfect, man, and that kind of glumping aspect, so definitely about that. Alexander Skarsgard, obviously I've touched upon that a little bit here as well already, and you see a little bit later in the trailer just that slight smirk that goes on in one of the later scenes, and so I just want him to have that like devilish sense of humor and that edge but also sarcasm, but obviously, just like his younger brother Bill, he probably wants to make the role very much his own in comparison. So, you know, respect there. Also, I loved Miguel Ferreira as Lloyd. Obviously, significantly older than this Nat Wolff kid, who is brother of the Alex Wolff, I want to say, who was in Hereditary, and they did that Nickelodeon show together. 94. So yeah, this kid is 26. So it's a much younger and drastically different portrayal of this person that you know, Flag saves from rotting away to death in this prison in Arizona. I'm trying to be open-minded about that one, but once again, significantly younger. So not 100% on that. Another interesting thing is that, remember in the 1994 miniseries, they basically combined Nadine's character with Rita Blakemore, I'm trying to remember specifically. She's in this. So the woman that Larry actually meets initially when the plague hits in New York City and he's trying to get the hell out of there and go through, you know, the Lincoln Tunnel, which is just one of my favorite sequences ever in a King thing, and they did it so good in the comic book. Solid in the you know, previous miniseries as well. But yeah, man, the fact that Rita, the older woman who Larry initially hooks up with, the fact that she's going to be in here and she's being played by none other than Heather Graham, who still looks just beautiful, absolutely stunning for her age. Roller girl forever, man, as she continues along. But with just a few other noteworthy castings as I'm looking at this stuff here, I like Glenn Bateman. I'm okay with him being Greg Kinnear and being significantly younger than that older actor that I remember specifically from TV, and he just did a tremendous job in the 94 miniseries. So once again, going significantly younger. So as opposed to like the old grandfatherly character that we have with the 94 Glenn Bateman, this one, I know Greg Kinnear's getting older, he's probably in his 50s now, but he's a talented enough actor that I'm not gonna trip about this or anything. But it's definitely just like with you know, just like with Nat Wolff as Lloyd. It's a drastically different take. Also, Henry Zaga playing Nick Andros. He's another actor that I'm not supremely familiar with. I thought Rob Lowe was great as Nick in the original, but I'm trying to be open to this. So apparently he was in the New Mutants, and I'm assuming he was the flamey homie. Okay, yep, he is Brazilian from Brasilia. So I mean, once again, trying to be open-minded, and yet it's in some ways tough when, you know, certain actors were so synonymous from that 1994 version, and also once again going significantly younger. Just like with Lloyd and, you know, Franny and various other characters. It looks like we do have Joe, who Julie and Larry basically adopt at one particular point. Just crazoid kid who is like basically not talking and slowly comes out of his shell. So I'm glad that he is being retained. And yeah, with 9 episodes that you would imagine they're going to be around you know, an hour-ish or so. They're getting more time, but for a 3-part miniseries where each portion was like, what, an hour 40? I mean, they still gave, like, you're getting, what, another hour or two, but not, like, an insane amount of additional time. So that's definitely something. But this is where I have to obviously say something a little bit controversial, and I'm just ready to wear it on my sleeve, and that's totally fine. There are a lot of very, very strong female characters in The Stand. Whether you're talking about Dana, whether you're talking about Susan Stern, whether you're talking about Franny, whether you're talking about Mother Abigail, like, we had a awesome core of just very tough women in this. And yet for some reason they have decided to do some gender flips on a couple of characters. Now, with Fiona Dourif playing Rat Woman instead of Rat Man or whatever, I mean, it's such a small character in that regard. I don't really care. But yet, Judge Ferris and also, oh goodness, why is homie's name eluding me right now? And I'm gonna get a little bit of crap teasiness for it. So Ralph Bretner is now Ray Bretner. And so we have two very kind of crucial characters, and I mean, the judge not as much, but so awesomely portrayed in the original 1994 miniseries. Those gender flips when there is a very high just saturation of very strong women in this are two that, at least for me personally, I'm scratching my head about to the slightest degree. And I mean, Ralph / Ray, as we're getting, I guess having another woman go along with our crew that go to stand, so to speak. So, you know, Larry and, you know, Ralph and Stu and Glenn. It's just one of the few things where I feel like that sort of flip wasn't necessary, but yet I'm sure I would get a lot of flack for even vocalizing that. But yet I do feel that there are a lot of badass, really just impressive and very strongly written women in this, that those two switches, I mean, I guess they're not that important, but it was definitely something that I just found kind of curious. You know, I'm hoping we get a better version of Dana in this. I should probably look real quick to see who is actually portraying her, because she unfortunately in the original 94 miniseries had a rather regrettably small role that you know, as it was expounded upon, and she's really important in the book, and just that whole confrontation with those asshole biker dudes who have kidnapped her and those other women. I mean, we're talking some serious stuff there. Boy, I'm trying to see what the casting is for Dana, and wondering, boy, I'm suddenly wondering if she is actually, okay, Natalie Martinez playing Dana Jurgens, but they're only listing one episode, so that means that, yeah, her role is going to be drastically diminished. Maybe, I mean, maybe they'll combine some of that with this new female version of either the judge, you know, who goes as a spy, just like Dana, so maybe that's more of a combination of those two characters, as I theorize. We shall see. But yeah, man, I mean, really, at the end of the day, this is an interestingly eclectic cast, obviously, going for just less of, like, hey, King is a gringo himself, and, you know, he wrote and raised a lot of white characters, unfortunately. But I'm still very curious. I'm very intrigued. I'm hoping that the performances are solid. I'm hoping that the scripts are tight and very well written, and that we do get that full-on hard R as they have promised. Just the sheer scope of everything. Yeah, man, I'm still excited about this, despite some of my reservations. And, you know, shout out to my buddy Mike Kearns from Mike's Book Reviews. He had mentioned that he wasn't so certain it felt like The Stand, you know, and that's just tough, where, similar to me, and you have that very close and personal just affinity and connection with the source material's initial adaptation. And sometimes in that regard it is tough to separate, but December 17th, I'll obviously be there day one, if not for even a little bit earlier, if we get some sort of initial, like, you know, press or promo access or something like that. But yeah, what were your thoughts on that first trailer that we got? What are your thoughts on the casting and some of the alterations that they're going with, you know, with just, you know, taking characters in different directions? Let me know in the comments below. So I extend a grande gracias a Jaime and Fuego. You can find Walt on all social media sectors like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, here on YouTube. I do have a personal YouTube channel called Infuegotainment that I throw some content on, and it's just everything non-scarific and spooktacular, which it's a little tough with trying to counter program in the month of October when we're doing all of this. But if you do a like, share, subscribe over there, and obviously here for this video, it means a heck of a lot. Also a reminder that Salem's Lot is the book of the month here. That's in conjunction with the Hail to Stephen King Facebook group that I am the sole admin and moderator of. So if you want further palaver besides this Saturday video, yeah, definitely jump over there. Almost 1,000 great people constantly having discussion, and we also do a Freak Out Friday where people get to basically talk about non-King stuff, provided it is respectful and coolio in that regard. And yeah, guys, I guess that's going to be the end of the video for today. So until the Wheel of Ka comes around once more, I say hasta luego. Cinemagos, constant readers, and viewers alike, say thank you for taking a little bit of time with me today. But I'm hopeful that we share more of this palaver sooner rather than later. And until that instance occurs, remember to stay scared. Read Stephen King. I mean, if you really want to get brave, read this before the new adaptation comes out. And also, shout out to Mike Kearns, Lou Gillen, Lou Sitzma, and Sarah Wagstaff. And from now through December 31st, if you go to phoenixfearcon.com, you can check out our panel that we did all about Hail to Stephen King on screen. And yeah, just $25 for access to every feature film, short, panel, and workshop now through the end of the year. So I hope to see all of you there.